Elon Musk was publicly called out by none other than a longtime friend of his, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, at a town hall event that Khanna conducted in a Republican district because the Republican congressman was too scared to show up and face his pissed off constituents. This is a masterful showing by the Democratic Party. We are starting to see signs of life. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play from this town hall event by Congressman Ro Khanna. I also want to give a shout out to the bigger names in the Democratic Party, AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're doing their Fighting Oligarchy tour. It's gotten rave reviews, rave unprecedented turnout, 86,000 people in 3 days. When you consider that they're not the president running for president, this isn't an election year, and everybody hates the Democratic Party right now, that is stunning. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is also out conducting town hall events, and now Ro Khanna. So we're going to play these clips from Congressman Khanna, starting with this one, in which he calls out his longtime I said,
Elon, if you're so convinced that you have good ideas, if you're so convinced that you are doing something efficient, why are you hiding from the American people? Come explain your ideas. You know, if you got some brilliant plan, come show it to the Congress. Why are you afraid of the Congress?
It's obvious why. This, of course, rhetorical. Ro Khanna is too polite probably to ever say it in public. But the reason that Elon Musk is too afraid to show up before Congress is because he'd have to testify under oath, and Elon Musk is an inveterate liar, rivaled only by Donald Trump himself. This isn't the only recent dust-up that Khanna has had with Musk. Before we play the next clips, I want to remind you of an exchange that they had in early February. So Elon Musk said to Ro Khanna, "Don't be a dick," when Ro Khanna said that if Democrats in the House Oversight Committee voted again to try to subpoena Elon Musk, that he would vote in favor of subpoenaing Elon Musk, basically forcing Musk to testify to the House Oversight Committee under oath. And Elon Musk apparently took that personally. Oh, don't be a dick. Don't make me answer questions under oath. Like, who does that just because I'm basically the shadow president or co-president, effectively running the government? I mean, you can't ask me for that level of transparency. It's a dick move, man. To which Ro Khanna replied, "Elon, we've known each other a long time. You can't stop payments that Congress has authorized and appropriated. Make recommendations to Congress, but don't stop payments." That's Article 1. Also, let's debate why we need Doge. I think it was, again, in response to the "don't be a dick" comment from Musk. There was also an article written shortly thereafter about Ro Khanna. Again, this is somebody who's Representative Ro Khanna has known Elon Musk for more than a decade, so he thought he could raise some concerns about the billionaire's assault on the federal government, where he could be sure to see them. Posting on the platform Musk owns, the California Democrat said yesterday that Musk should be hauled before Congress to explain himself. "Musk's attacks on our institutions are unconstitutional," he wrote. It took Musk just 16 minutes to reply. Don't be a dick, okay? Now, in regards to the town hall events, let's focus on that for a minute, because again, Khanna is not alone, and it needs to be, basically every Democrat needs to be doing this. Every Democrat who has a modicum of confidence should be going into their nearest red state where a Republican congressman is not showing up and conducting a town hall. We need more eyes on this, and we need to be relentless. So, Khanna, the 48-year-old son of Indian immigrants who's carved out a distinct and somewhat incongruous niche as a tech-friendly populist, had a planned tour designed to make California's most vulnerable House Republicans sweat. He intended to send a signal to GOP Representatives David Valadao, Ken Calvert, and Young Kim that the Doge wrecking ball through the federal government and fears of cuts to Medicaid and Social Security was fomenting a popular backlash that could soon put their jobs at risk. Valadao, Calvert, and spokesperson for Kim all responded with variations of the same theme, brushing off Khanna's visit as a political stunt. All three of their districts had shifted further right in 2024 compared to 4 years prior, a reflection of just how much ground Democrats have lost even in the blue bastion of California. Yes, we have a lot of ground to gain up. I mean, we really do. As the Republicans have their issues. Donald Trump is not popular. Elon Musk is not popular. But everybody is pissed off at the Democrats at the moment. Republicans on ideological grounds because they just hate everything that Democrats do and stand for, no matter what day it is, no matter what action it is. They're always predisposed to despise the Democrats. And then we Democrats are really pissed off at each other because of, tactical errors, strategic errors, also on policy errors too. President Biden, as somebody who defended President Biden's legislative success and executive success, particularly during his first 2 years, President Biden should not have run for re-election, period. He got out too late, period. Vice President Kamala Harris, I think, ran a relatively effective campaign under the circumstances, but even she made mistakes. She started to drift from a populist message, which was resonating with people, and struggled as a result. She muzzled Vice President candidate Tim Walz, which was a huge mistake, given that he was more popular than her and Trump and J.D. Vance. A lot of mistakes to go around. And then, of course, recent decisions by Chuck Schumer et al. To basically bend the knee to Trump. Everybody's pissed off at Democrats. And so I think AOC and Bernie and others stepping up will help cover or regain that lost ground. So with all of that said, let's get to more of those clips from Congressman Khanna's town hall event in a Republican district.
Look, I have a pretty simple view of things. In America, leaders don't hide from people. That's why I'm here, to listen to you and to try to give voice to your concerns. But I have a simple request. Representative Valadao, show up here next weekend. Say, I'm the congressman from Silicon Valley, and we do a lot of things virtually. But I think Bakersfield deserves better than virtual representation.
It's a great line. It's a great line. They're not even getting virtual representation because Valadao won't even want to do a virtual town hall. Here's another clip.
So what do we need? What am I going to do? Well, one, I'm going to stand up very clearly, whether it's popular or not, for our Constitution, for our First Amendment, and even for our immigrants having free speech and due process. I said, look, the First Amendment, if you read it, it doesn't say First Amendment applies to citizens. It says First Amendment applies to every person in the United States. And if we are indifferent when Donald Trump comes after the trans community, if we are indifferent when he comes after the LGBTQ community, if we are indifferent when he comes after the Venezuelan community, when he comes after the Muslim community, when he comes after women, then soon he will come after us. We need to stand for principle in this country.
So I really want to give a shout out to him here. I interviewed Congressman Ro Khanna at the DNC, and I think he's very smart. I think he's one of the bravest congresspeople in terms of he'll go basically everywhere and have a conversation, and it will be civil, but he'll stand on business. Okay. Now he frustrated me with the Elon Musk subpoena hearing because he was absent. Apparently he didn't make it to the chamber in time, and it was very time sensitive because basically, with Democrats in the minority, you have to have more Democrats in the room to call for that sort of motion and prevail. And if you give Republicans time to basically get back into the room, they'll have the numbers to reject a subpoena effort. Congressman Ro Khanna, now he says he didn't get the message in time. It was too late. Others say, no. He got the message in time. He was just lethargic in getting back to the chamber, suggesting he might not want to subpoena his old friend Elon Musk. So I have some mixed bags about it. My notion is, Congressman, if you're watching, if you get a little note that says, come to the chamber right now, we're going to subpoena Elon Musk, you drop whatever the fuck you're doing. I don't care who you're talking to. You drop whatever you're doing and say, I'll be back in 10 minutes, and you run. He failed to do so, pissed off at him about that. But I want to give him his flowers here because what he just did there, again, going to a ruby red district, which has shifted even more to the red, and saying in front of Republicans, Republican constituents, not all Republican, but in the constituents of a ruby red district, that he wants to defend immigrants, the LGBTQ community, trans people, Muslims, like just marginalized groups in this country that are often unpopular with the MAGA and Republican base. For him to say that there and not modify his approach, I mean, I'm sure he didn't wax poetic about trans issues at length, but for him to stand on principle and say, I am still an ally of the trans community and I'm not going to throw them under the bus to try to earn your favor, that takes a lot of fortitude, okay? Because the temptation would be to modify, not just in terms of rhetoric, but also like overall approach to appeal to that audience. And maybe that would be the politically expedient thing to do. So he's walking a tightrope here, and I think what he did was really impressive there. Here's another clip.
Look, I represent a district in Silicon Valley. You probably heard of it, Apple, Google, NVIDIA, all those companies. You know, here's what I don't understand. I'm for taxing the billionaires more. There's no one in the 435 districts in America, no one has more billionaires than my district. If the guy who has all the billionaires can say tax them more, how is this a hard vote for the other 434 members of Congress? I don't get it.
So again, that's also a very principled stance and a great point to make. If there's anybody who has the pressure to take it easy on billionaires, it's Ro Khanna. If there's anybody to advocate for laissez-faire capitalism or, a flat tax rate or a regressive tax rate which helps the billionaires, it would be Ro Khanna, because his constituents it's the single greatest nexus of concentration of wealth in this country. And despite that pressure, he says, no, I want to tax them more. They deserve to be taxed more. If they're going to be rich, that's fine, but they're going to be taxed much more than middle and lower class individuals and households, which is fair. Marginal utility exists. Greater tax burden on the millionaires and billionaires hurts them a lot less. They're still allowed to be rich, filthy rich, profligately rich, and still should shoulder the vast majority of the tax burden. That's a principled stance, despite the fact that it would probably be more popular with his constituents if he was like, no, let's actually make it easier for billionaires to be, to keep their wealth and not tax them as much. So again, it's a pretty bold stance by Khanna. Here's another clip.
To stand up and mobilize and organize to get their representatives to show some courage in standing up to Donald Trump. I don't have faith, bluntly, in Senator Schumer saving democracy. I have faith in all of you saving democracy.
Glad he called out Senator Schumer, who again, senior senator from New York. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he meant well. I'm sure he, thought he did what was right by caving to the Republican continuing resolution, but it's not what his voters want. It's not what his constituents want. It's not what his Democratic colleagues want. And so Schumer needs to go. Here's another clip.
If you just cared about American power, and I believe there's far more to care than just power. You have to care about justice and fairness. But if you just cared about power, the way you build America's strength in the 21st century is not by conquering Canada. It's not by conquering Panama. The Chinese are laughing at us. The way you build America's strength is by educating our young people. How this president thinks that the answer is to dismantle the Department of Education, it's not just morally wrong, it's moronic.
Again, love that. See, this is the thing, folks. I'm sorry, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the polling doesn't back this up. I just want to say I have enough epistemic humility to know that I might be wrong on this. But I do think that Democrats need to be a bit cruder, a bit more indecorous, a bit less obsessed with etiquette and decorum. Call Donald Trump a moron. Stop referring to him as President Trump, Mr. President. No, treat him with the disrespect that he deserves. Start using that rhetoric. That's what a lot of people, myself included, want, especially because they do that shit to Democrats all the time. It was always Joe Biden, not President Biden, not Mr. President. They treat the people they don't like with all kinds of disrespect. And I think, as long as you're not breaking the law, as long as you're not, being excessively cruel, I think it's okay to push back on these bullies. And so I love that. Again, I would also point out that Trump's efforts to dismantle the education department will have a disproportionate impact on red states because red states are more reliant on federal funds dispensed by the education department than blue states. It's just simply true. One last clip to play of Congressman Khanna's red district town hall event.
But here's what I will say about the Democratic Party. We are the party that got the 40-hour work week. We are the party that got overtime pay. We are the party that got Social Security. We are the party that got Medicare. We are the party that got Medicaid. We are the party that funded public schools. We are the party that fought and got civil rights and voting rights. We are the party that got the Immigration Reform Act of 65 so my parents could come here. We are the party of FDR and John F. Kennedy and Barack Obama. And if the party is letting us down, it's time to rebuild the party and understand what this party has achieved for us.
It's a great message to point out, okay? And I'll just conclude with this. Again, I make no bones about it. I am unapologetically partisan. I recognize that the two political parties, the two political sides, are not equally good or equally bad, and I will never indulge a false equivalence. But the Democratic Party has serious issues. We've been talking about it for a long time. I'm talking about it even more because I'm increasingly fed up. But again, I appreciate this approach by Khanna because he's saying, hey, listen, the Democratic Party has succeeded before. The Democratic Party knows how to win elections. This idea that the Democrats can't win elections is not true. We beat Trump's Republican Party in 2018. We beat him in 2020. We beat him in 2021 with the Senate runoffs. We beat him in 2022 during the midterms. We were supposed to get hit with a red wave. It was a pinkish trickle, and we actually expanded our majority in the Senate. We beat them in the 2023 off-year elections. Yes, we got clobbered in 2024, but it's not like we can't win elections. We can. Anyone who tells you otherwise just doesn't know Democratic history. But 2024 was a big election that we screwed up, just like 2016. And we can't just sweep that under the rug. And the Democrats do need to engage in introspection. They need to do a political autopsy on themselves, and they need to act quickly, aggressively, and boldly to get their shit together. So I like the Khanna's like, hey, listen, this idea the Democrats can't succeed or we screw up. No. We've actually delivered better results for the American people objectively than the Republican Party. Here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Accomplishments that vastly outstrip those of the Republican Party. But the Republican Party beat us in the last election. We can't pretend otherwise, which means we need to engage in introspection. We need to remove what doesn't work in this party and lift up that which does. That is a good inspirational message. More people need to be shouting it from the rooftops. AOC and Bernie Sanders and Tim Walz are killing it. I wanted to call this one out too because Khanna is less well known than any of them, but he specifically threw the gauntlet down to his old buddy Elon Musk, which I also think merits attention. So, masterful performance, folks. There's some good news here. The Democratic Party is showing signs of life. Let's keep it up. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.